Hello folks, welcome to another Motorsport Detective. I'm Alex Burnham, and this time I've got another cine film, 8mm cine footage of unknown content. However, this one has come with a little bit of a clue. The tin it's come in has 1957 Italy labelled on it. So hopefully when we watch it we'll find something that relates to that label. Alright, here we go. 1957 Italy. Oh, colour footage, that's very cool, from 57. Now they look like van wall, 50s Formula 1 van walls. It does look very Italian. Autodromo di Monza. Ah, well. So I'm guessing we've probably got 57 Italian Grand Prix from Monza. Now that is very cool. Some red cars there. Pre-race build-up. Parade of flags. As the cars are on the grid. And there we go, a Grand Prix. Now this is quite obviously the 1957 Italian Grand Prix from Monza. Quite easy to figure all that out given the clues. And so rather than try and work it out, I'm going to see if I can find some information on this race. Now it is nice to know the results of some of these races, but the official Formula 1 website even doesn't show much by the way of a race report. So for that I think I'm going to have to go back to the period when the race happened. So I've been able to find the Motorsport magazine which features the race report from that 57 Monza Grand Prix. What I thought I'd do is use my Cine Footage and that period report from Motorsport magazine to see if we can make a sort of broadcast of that 57 race. The Monza circuit of today is actually quite similar to the track raced back in 57. Modern chicanes aren't evident, but what's really noticeable is the fact that it's just the road circuit that was used. Previous Grand Prix had incorporated the banked oval, but most of the teams disliked this intensely, and so it had been taken away from the 57 event. So going back to our Cine Footage, and Autosport says it was left to the van walls to carry the green of Great Britain. The other British teams had pulled out, BRM focusing their efforts elsewhere, and the Coopers not believing that they could cope with the high speeds of Monza because they were quite a small engined car. So Van Wall was leading the British charge against a huge field of red cars, Ferraris and Maseratis. It says in Autosport, about an hour before the start, the pageantry began. An impressive parade of standard bearers, always a feature of Monza. And here in the footage we can see that lineup of different flags, one for every nationality of the driver in the race. And it was quite an international event with British, Argentinian, French, American, German, Italian, Swedish and Spanish drivers all taking part. The start was tremendous. As the flag fell, Musso was already on the move but just could not out-accelerate Moss and Lewis Evans in their van walls. And so we head into the race with van walls taking that early lead. Moss was just ahead of Berra, with Lewis Evans and Brooks leading Musso. That's the early race order. On lap 4, Berra in his Italian Maserati was able to nip into the lead, and this gave the Italian crowd something to really cheer about. On lap 7, Fangio took the lead briefly in his Maserati. A real fight going on at the front between the Maseratis and the van walls, with Ferrari thereabouts but seemingly off the pace. By about lap 20 the van walls were starting to struggle, with Tony Brooks having to pull in. Here we see the leaderboard on lap 30 with number 18 Moss in his van wall out front, with Fangio settling in second place. Next came Harry Schell in his Maserati, with Collins in a Ferrari, number 30 there in 4th place. Car number 6 is Jean Berra in his Maserati, whilst 34 is Mike Hawthorne in another Ferrari. Here we see Tony Brooks's van wall eventually being pushed out of the race, just unable to continue. Next in trouble was American Harry Schell in his Maserati. Although they would try and get Schell's car going again, eventually he returned in a cloud of steam and the car would be retired, pushed off the circuit into, as Autosport put it, the dead car park. Now we can see the leaderboard for lap 42, with Moss still in lead, with Fangio still second, but now with Peter Collins rising up to third. Mike Hawthorne, car 34, is in fourth, with Scarletti's number 8 Maserati in fifth. Wolfgang von Trips in the Ferrari has made his way up to 6th place. Trips had qualified in 11th, and the Ferrari seemed to be off the pace here, but he's slowly rising up the order, helped in part by cars in front of him retiring. John Berra in his Maserati was also having trouble, repeatedly in and out of the pits. They would try to restart him, but after a few slow tours he was forced to retire. Car 20, that's the van wall of Stuart Lewis-Evans, gamely tried to go on, but would eventually be pulled off the circuit and out of the race. There we can just make out the leaderboard, with Moss, Fangio and Collins out front, with Hawthorne and Von Trips making up another place into 5th place, with Marston Gregory now sneaking into the top 6. More retirements would come as Peter Collins' engine block cracked, sending his Ferrari out of the race. Here we see the blue-nosed Ferrari of Mike Hawthorne in for the pit with a fuel line fracture. He would rejoin, but out front Stirling Moss had built up an entire lap's lead, meaning that towards the end he could pull into the pits for a quick oil and tyre change before going on to win. As Autosport put it, it was not exactly a rapturous ovation which Stirling was given. One would think that the idea of a green car scoring such a convincing victory had shocked the spectators to near silence. And in that scrum down there we see Stirling Moss getting the victor's laurels and his bottle of champagne before Fangio came over to congratulate him and admit that the van walls were just too fast. So now we have the final race results. So Stirling Moss would take a convincing victory, almost an entire lap ahead of 2nd place Juan Manuel Fangio. In 3rd place was Wolfgang von Trips' Ferrari, having worked his way up through the order steadily, whereas many of the early front runners had fallen by the wayside. The high-speed nature of Monza had really taken its toll on the cars, with most of the retirements being engine-related, overheating, oil problems, fuel problems. So there we have it, ladies and gents, Cine footage from the 1957 Italian Grand Prix. And thanks to Autosport, I've been able to piece together what was happening in the little clips that I've got on that footage and provide something of a race report for that event. If you enjoyed watching this little motorsport mystery, please do find some of my other videos on YouTube. Search me out on social media. Till next time, thank you.